Today we welcome a seasoned author with 65 years of experience, known for his compelling work with science fiction. His journey as a writer started when he was just 10 years old. His interest sparked by the imaginative worlds of Ray Bradbury, the creator of the Martian Chronicles, and also by the powerful work stories of his uncle. These early inspirations ignited a long-life passion, which stayed with him till his years of retirement. So now, with complete free reign and time, he's finally ready to shock the industry. So welcome to Writing Inspiration with Markee Books. Hello, David. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good today. And yourself?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine. So tell me, David, how long have you been a writer?
That'd be about 65 years, I guess.
Wow. So basically since childhood.
Well, I wrote my first short story when I was 10.
Oh.
That's, yeah. Yeah, I think by then I was already pretty much convinced I was going to be a writer. And I've done all kinds of things besides writing throughout my life. But yeah, I've been writing since I was 10.
Wow. And when did you formally become a writer? Like a published author.
Well, the first short story I had published was in uh, I think the magazine was called Blue Book. It was a men's magazine. It was a World War II story that I had heard from my uncle. And
Oh.
so I had been working on it for a while, and I'd worked on several stories, but I'd submitted probably 15 or 20 of them before they finally picked up on one. And the first one I was paid $10.
Well, at least you get paid. I mean, it could be worse, I think.
Yeah, I've written on and off. I mean, I've had stuff published on and off through the years, but uh, building careers, raising kids, all the things that I was involved in, it was just very difficult for me to concentrate on making money at writing. So I concentrated on just getting to be a better writer.
Oh, I can imagine. So tell me, what made you want to become a writer? I mean, as a child.
I think I read Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, and it's basically a bunch of short stories put together into a book, with Mars, of course, as the main component. But it so intrigued me, and the writing was so compelling. And it's basically a study of human nature, is what it is. And I was so intrigued by that it wasn't too long after that I started writing. And then one thing after another, before you know it, I was writing short stories, not just scenes. And then I talked to my uncle, and he told me some of the things that he had experienced in World War II in the Pacific. And so I started writing those stories. And just one thing led to another. I took journalism in high school. I took creative writing, and I got published in the school paper, and they had a magazine called Focus, so all of the students could submit works for that as well. And it just one thing after another, and I just kept on writing. I never stopped. I wrote policy and procedure handbooks and technical manuals. I've corrected technical manuals, but along the way, my true love was science fiction, and so I kind of stuck with that all along, even though I've written in a variety of genres. Never done any romance writing, so
It's fine. If it's not your thing, it's perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure most authors haven't touched all genres.
no, probably not. No.
Yeah. So right now, are you like a full-time writer, or are you like doing a day job?
Uh, I wanted to go into it full time, and I started back in 2006. Started submitting books, manuscripts. In 2008, I actually published my first novel, Mankind's Worst Fear, and I had an outfit called Publish America do it. They did a really crappy job. Their main interest was selling me my own books at highly inflated prices. It took me a couple of years to get out from under that contract. And when I finally did, I published, and I was doing quite well with it. I was getting some nice fat checks every month. And then my wife got sick, and well, the marketing kind of went on the wayside for several years, and my
Oh,
wife has since passed, so I am now in a position where I can concentrate on writing and publishing, and I've got 7 novels ready to go,
wow.
so I'm just pushing them out.
Sorry to hear that, but well, I'm happy that you seem better now.
It's been a tough few months, I have to give you that, but I'm settling in, getting comfortable with the fact, and yeah, I've really poured myself into that, and uh, I've been working on restoring a 1949 bungalow, so I poured a lot of my energy into that in the first few weeks. Um, but I love writing, and I couldn't walk away from that.
Yeah, it seems at least, well, you have that. And so, right now, how many books do you have out there?
Well, I just got 3 out right now. Mankind's Worst Fear, the one I've got now, of course, is substantially updated from the original. It's got a new cover. Yeah, I'd already published it under the old manuscript, so it'll be, I think, middle of October before I'll be able to actually put that in print. The Sacrifice of Bara 4, that's probably one of my more recent novels that I've written. That's out there. A Matter of Time, which is a time travel story. A dot-com millionaire rescues this beautiful chronologist from the future, and of course, what can go wrong from there, right?
Right. Yeah, I can imagine many scenarios. So, oh, okay. So right now you're only writing sci-fi, as you mentioned before. But it seems that all these books are like separate from each other. You don't write sequels or expansions or anything like that.
Well, The Sacrifice of Bara 4, I have a sequel to that.
Oh,
Um, I don't think it'll actually create a third book, but I do have the sequel. I still need to do a little more editing on it and polish that up. But I hope to have that ready to go probably in the next
right.
couple of months.
Oh,
I do lean inside of science fiction. I do have another novel that I was wanted to publish earlier and didn't. Um, I originally titled it The Program, but I've since retitled it The Right Us Shall Inherit the Earth. It's a world domination novel.
okay. Well, at least it seems you have many plans for this year. Are you planning to release at least 2 more books before the year ends?
I hope so. Yes, at least 2, possibly 3.
Wow. Actually, I will say that you should release the books in a certain time window between them, because usually when you release 2 books that are normally similar to each other, the new one always steals sales from the previous one.
No, that's always a possibility, but if the original novel is very good, then it's no reason why it can't keep drawing interest.
Well, yeah,
I
you have a point
Yeah.
there.
Well, Mankind's Worst Fear is to me is a really good, really well written, good story. It's a fun story, exciting. It's an adventure tale. They deal with an awful lot of issues, but I had a lot of fun writing and I really enjoyed it. The sequel, I think, will be just as good, but I think the original will have enough draw to keep drawing people into it for quite a long time. I
Wow.
don't think I'm going to run out of a market for that book.
So you mentioned about editing before. Do you do your own editing, or do you have a team right now working with you?
Well, I've had other writers work with me, especially on the earlier drafts. I'm not working with anybody right at the moment. I did have someone about 3 months ago actually go through 2 of my novels, and they picked out a few things, but they're pretty clean. I don't think there was much to find, and they like the characters, they like the story, so I was pretty pleased with that. I have been using a couple of different editing programs. I found there's some major limitations with editing programs,
Yeah, they are
especially
not
when
perfect.
dealing with fiction. Yeah, they think they tend to look at things more in a technical perspective, whereas fictional writing is not quite that technical,
Yes.
especially when you're dealing with dialogue because humans don't talk like machines.
For an essay, it's perfect, but for creative writing, it's not at all.
Oh yeah, I have to
Oh
argue with it
no.
all the time.
If you ask the programs to make like add flavor or something, they usually pick the most pompous words you'll ever find anywhere, and it's always super exaggerated.
Well, they try to say things in as few words as possible. It's kind of like journalism where you have to take all of the facts and synthesize it down just a real nugget of the information. And I think those programs tend to look at it that way. Whereas when you're writing fiction, it tends to be a little bit wordier than that. People don't talk like machines, so and there's a lot of social nuances to it, and the grammar checkers just have a lot of problem with that.
So, do you have any hobby that keep you inspired?
Well, I've had a lot of different hobbies. At this point, I'm still working on this old house. I'm almost finished with it. I got one room left to do. So it's been a
Nice.
25-year project. But I've worked with other writers. I've done some editing for other writers. I try to stay up with current events and history. And I have some smart people that I talk to on a pretty regular basis. And they have a lot of good things to say. So, yeah, I draw my inspirations from all over the place and just talking to somebody. Somebody will say something and it's just a sentence and I'll grab it and I'm talking to them in the back of my mind, I'm formulating a story based on that one sentence. So sometimes they may think I'm a little lost, but living in two worlds, mental worlds right at that point. So I get my ideas from anywhere and everything. It's people are so interesting, so unique. And yet in many ways they're so much the same.
Okay, okay. It's nice that you have a lot of things you could do. So, did you ever thought this would be your life? Now that you're a full-time writer, basically.
Well, pretty much it. Yeah, it's going to be my main focus at this point. I do want to get a career going. I'm not worried about becoming a millionaire. But I'd like a nice, comfortable living, and to do that, I got to sell books. So I've got a lot of inventory I can work with. So I'm pretty much concentrating on the marketing end of it at this point. Today, it has just gotten to be so complicated.
Oh yeah.
My gosh. I mean, when I first started publishing, it was so simple. But today there's algorithms, there's every single thing you do has been monetized and they've managed to make every step so much more complicated. You almost have to be a technician to
Yeah.
market books anymore.
That's why there are so many services that offer to do that for you. And that's why publishers also do that lately. But again, working with publishers, it's not necessarily a good, you probably already know.
Well, I've run into that with Publish America. I realized that there was a lot of thieves out there. And when you look at all these different ads that come up, you really have to look at them. One of them I was chatting with was based in San Francisco, but when you started looking at the background, you found out that no, they're over there. That particular outfit, I believe, was in Ukraine. When you look into the background, you start digging a little more deeply, it's not real easy to figure out which ones are the crooks and which ones aren't. But there's just so many of them out there that just, they tell you they do good marketing, they sell you a good line. And then when you start looking a little bit deeper in it, you realize that the reviews are horrible. Um, yeah, and they're just out to take your money. An outfit I worked with, and I won't even name them at this point, was in Pakistan. And
Oh, God.
supposedly he had a whole team of people working for him. But I came to the conclusion after a couple of weeks that it was just one guy.
Oh, dear.
They, yeah.
I can imagine.
Well, he
So,
kept wanting me to write him checks, and I told him, well, if you can deliver on what I've already provided, then we can talk about the rest of it. But he was never able to produce anything that was worthwhile. So, it was pretty clear he was just a scammer.
yeah. Well, technically, he did send you stuff. More than a scammer, I will just say a simple liar that took more than he could chew.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of what a scammer is, isn't it?
Oh,
They don't
well,
have the goods
for
that.
me, a scammer is just someone that is deliberately trying to rob you of your money. But if someone that think they could do your work, the work that you offer them, but they didn't have the skills they thought they, I wouldn't say they scammer, just very stupid people that
They
thought
thought it would
that
be
it was
easy.
easier, that it would be easier than they thought.
Well, it became pretty clear. I mean, I think it was by the third time that I talked to him and he was already asking me for more money. And he
Oh,
wasn't talking about hundreds, he was looking for thousands. Uh,
yeah. In that
yeah.
case, you are completely right. So, how long did it take you to complete your debut work? A year, two?
Um, I can usually knock out a draft in about 4 to 6 months.
Not bad.
And yeah, and then I take the time to go through and edit it. And dialogue, of course, is the hardest. You've got to make it sound reasonable and realistic. And that's probably the hardest part because you've got different characters. They think differently, they talk differently. And to try to keep separating those characters and make sure they sound the same, it's a daunting task. I think the hardest part of any bit of writing is the editing. I think
Well,
anybody that really sets their mind to it can dash off a story, but you have to dash off a story that's credible, that's interesting, entertaining, that will draw people in and want them to come back and read more of your stuff.
yep.
That's the perfecting part of it.
Even though I do believe it's okay to only edit after you finish your book because otherwise it will be eternal. I also think that you at least needs to be careful because if you just write whatever and say, I'll fix it in editing, it's going to be like the worst headed you're going to have in your life.
Well, they have to have the story drawn out. You have to have a good idea where you're going with it. A couple of books I started with, I didn't have any idea how it would end, but by the time I got half the book finished, I knew where it was going.
Exactly. It's better to finish the book first. So, do you have any advice for new writers starting right now?
Be very careful who you end up hooking up with. And, um, I mean, every step of the way is monetized now. And there seems like there's somebody willing to take your money at every single level that's only interested in taking your money. As far as writing, just write, practice, 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 practice. If you've got somebody that's willing to help you out and read your writing and point things out, someone who's reliable and isn't just there to say yes, oh, that's really good. You want the nuts and bolts. You want to know what's good and what's bad. So if you got someone that you can trust, that you think you can trust, you can actually improve your writing tremendously. So you should never be afraid to reach out for a helping hand if you think you need it. I started out with an online critique group called critters.org,
Oh, I
and
know
they were,
them.
yeah, they were really, really helpful. And, my writing was really pretty bad. I thought it was really good until I had other people look at it and realized just how much more work it needed. So they were of tremendous benefit to me, really, really helped me out. But I reached a point where my writing had gotten well enough where I was a better writer than most of the people that were trying to help me. And especially with some of the newer writers, I was getting some pretty bad advice from them. So they weren't helping me out at all. Some of the more seasoned writers, it was a different story. And I still stay in touch with a couple of writers that I knew from Critters, and I still value their input.
That's great. At least you have managed to develop your community. Everyone needs a support network. I completely agree with that.
Well, there's no one who gets rich by themselves. If you look at any wealthy man who has made his money himself rather than being born into it, you'll see that they've all done it with a group of people.
Yeah,
It's everybody's got different skills. You can't have all of the skills you need, so you have to rely on other people that have the skills you don't. And if you put together a good team, you're going to be successful.
exactly. So tell me, what was the most difficult thing you have to struggle with when you became a writer?
I don't think there's anything specific that was more difficult than anything else. To me, writing a story was just so natural that it wasn't really a stumbling block. I sometimes when I get into the technical details,
Oh yeah.
especially dealing with science fiction, because science fiction writers tend to like to have the science make sense. So I've had to learn a lot of things, especially dealing with time travel. I had to look at all the different means by which someone could travel in time. And there's a lot of theories out there, and some are a little bit more complicated than others. But you can take a basic one and try to fit it into the narrative. And but you have to get the supporting details right, or you tend to lose the reader. If they see something and they go, "Wow, come on, that's crazy. That doesn't even fit." So you've already lost the reader.
Yeah. I have found that a lot of times with writers, specifically writing about electricity in many cases. In some cases, it doesn't make any sense for someone that at least did like a school degree, have a high school degree, and knows a bit of physics. And those writers don't know anything about how electricity works.
Well, you got to write about what you know about, and if you don't know, then you learn. If you're not
Exactly.
willing to learn, then you're leaving yourself out in the cold.
Exactly. I don't think you have only to write what you know because, as you say, if you don't know something, you learn. That's how it is. But I have seen many writers say advising that only write what you know. But I don't think it needs to be that that extreme. I feel that you just need to, write what you want, and that's it. If you want to write, I don't know, about strawberries cultivation, but you never cultivate anything like that, well, then read about it and try to replicate it. I don't know.
I agree with you absolutely that write what you enjoy writing. And if you need to learn about the subject that you're talking about in order to get better at it, then by all means you have to do that. Hydraulics, electronics, automotive, growing marijuana. It's that if you don't know enough about it, then you can't keep the reader involved because the reader will pick up on these inconsistencies. So
Exactly.
you have to know what you're writing about. You don't necessarily have to experience a car wreck to be able to write about a car wreck, but
And
you
you
have
don't
to be
need,
a little bit
I
knowledgeable about it.
and you don't need to suffer PTSD from war to understand how it feels. Of course,
Exactly.
it does help to give some realism, but it's not like a writer. It's incapable of, you know, imagine how that feels, or
Well,
even
fiction is fiction, so
exactly, or even they could talk to someone that actually experienced that, and you can take their experiences.
yeah. Well, I agree. It's just like if I'm going to sit down and talk, have a serious discussion with someone about a specific topic, if I am not knowledgeable enough about that, I'll just say I just don't know enough about that to really carry on a conversation. But that doesn't mean I won't take the time to suddenly learn about it, because if it's interesting to me, then it's interesting enough to learn more about it. I
Exactly.
like to understand an issue before I start pontificating on it. Otherwise, you just come across as stupid.
Yeah, it will feel hollow in the end. So,
Yeah.
do you have like a writing routine now that you're an experienced writer?
I do most of my writing in the morning. Um, Yeah, I don't know if it's that I'm more refreshed or just comfortable with it, but when it comes to editing, I can do it any time of the day. If I got a break for an hour and I can sit down and do some editing, I will. If I'm It's like being on the computer. I can only be on the computer for so long, and then my eyes are burned out and my butt's tired, and I got to get up and move around, go do something else for a while. So my routine, I guess, is somewhat chaotic in that regards. But I try to stay focused on what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And if my eyelids are drooping and my mind's wandering, now go do something else for a while.
So, David, can you tell us a little bit about your first book to promote a bit?
Well, the first one I published was Mankind's Worst Fear, and it's two stories in one. So they attack Earth, they basically bomb Earth back into the Stone Age, and it's up to these two gentlemen, one an officer, one a scientist, to figure out how to turn back the hands of time and stop the attack from ever occurring.
Okay, interesting. So it's like two short stories, completely separate, or they like complement each other's?
Uh, I'd say more compliment because the two with their people, each has their entourage, come together in 300 years in the future to determine how to use this alien technology in order to stop the attack to begin with.
Okay, okay. Do you have a story of how you named your books?
No, there's no formula that I use. I'll bounce ideas off my head until I finally hit one that I think might be good, and then I'll think about that for a while, and maybe I'll come up with something entirely different, or maybe that one will gel, and I might have to make a couple of modifications. It's just a slow process. There's no specific way I do this. If I'm looking for characters' names, a lot of times I'll grab the white pages and go through it and find a name that fits the character rather well. But as far as drawing a title, I try to use the substance of the book in order to determine a title that will fit properly.
You're
But
right.
now there's no specific formula.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your most recent book?
Let's see, which would be my most recent. The sequel to The Sacrifice of Barafor, which is The Search for Barafor, would be my latest. It's pretty close to getting to the point where I'd be comfortable publishing it. What happens in with Barafor? It's a moon off. There's four moons on off Bara Prime, and one of the moons, Barafor, ends up being partially destroyed, forced out of orbit and into the vastness of space. And in the sequel, when they stop the invasion, they have to find the moon because the moon is a portal for the ancients that have basically been guiding humankind through all of history.
Okay, okay. Oh, it reminds me about those books about the Anunnaki or or the Egyptian gods or that are aliens that uh, created humanity and stuff.
Well, there is that theory, and I think it's kind of an interesting one that the alien races had basically seeded the primordial seas of Earth, and which eventually evolved into humankind. Um, maybe it was just a joke, or maybe they just crash landed and left some of their DNA behind. There's a million theories as to even in the Bible, they talk about wars in heaven. So you think, well, maybe the gods are just more intelligent or, more intelligent, more experienced, more knowledgeable human beings.
Well, if there's something mythology have told me, is that gods are really not that different.
Well, if you read the Bible, the gods, they speak of are have very human-like characteristics.
Well, nothing will win. The one who will win that are the Greek ones. But yeah,
Oh yeah, well, there's the Greek as well. I mean, there's all through history we've
I
had
mean
different gods.
the more human
Yeah.
like are the Greek ones.
Oh well, the Greeks are definitely more human, I guess, than the Christian God. But when you read the Bible, you see that they're very human-like, extremely human-like, and I think that comes down to the people who actually wrote the Bible. They were all
Exactly.
humans, you know. So it was
Exactly.
humans that wrote it. So,
It's naturally you will base something in what you know, as we already talk about. It's just that simple.
mhm.
So, between all the books you have finished, which one is your favorite right now?
Oh, I have enjoyed every single one of them. It would be hard for me to pick a favorite because everyone has their own characteristics that I really enjoyed. I like time travel. It's to me it creates such a paradox. A Matter of Time deals with that paradox, and um, I think that was one of the more entertaining stories that I wrote. I have written a children's book about these cloud-like aliens that are passing through our galaxy and happen to come by Earth and want to come visit us. And all they have is the technology that they've seen, the TVs, movies, and all of that. And they see a lot of violence. So they want to find out if humans are really that violent. And they end up coming down to Earth and they meet an older couple with grandchildren. And they ask them, well, can you show us what humans do for fun? So they take them to a water park in Florida. And at first, of course, everybody's freaked out because there's these aliens that kind of look like clouds. But after a while, everybody gets used to the aliens being there, and the aliens are having fun just like all the rest of the kids are. I wrote that story for my granddaughters, and in fact, they're the two of the characters in there, along with my wife and I. I just really enjoyed writing that, and the girls really enjoyed reading it. So I think I hit the spot that I wanted to hit. So that was probably one of the funnest stories I've written. Um, I'll probably be putting that out here in the next few weeks as well.
Yeah. So, tell me, as now that you're a published author, do you have any memorable experiences with your readers that you remember fondly?
No, I really haven't been in touch with readers. People that have read the book basically are people that were helping me out at some point in the editing process. I did, since I have published the books, I have gotten two people that I knew that were very pleased with the stories. A Matter of Time, I guess, really touched a nerve. So they thought it was just extremely entertaining, and of course it was good to hear that. But they're people I know, so I would think that they might or might not color their opinion a little bit. But these are intelligent, educated men, and I trust their opinions. So if they found it entertaining and I found it entertaining in the process of creating it, then I have to assume it's entertaining.
Happy to hear that. So, what will be your largest goal or dream right now as an author?
Well, I just want to make some little extra income. I'm not concerned about becoming an extremely wealthy man, but I like to live comfortably. I like cars. Um, I like going out to dinner. I like entertaining friends. So it'd be nice to have the extra income to be able to do a lot of that sort of thing. So I
Right.
guess as long as I've got the money where I can socialize, where I can party, where I can travel. I love traveling. I've been all over this country, been out of it a couple of times. There's a lot of things that I want to do. I'm only 75 years old, so I've still got some time to go to enjoy that time without having to sweat about whether I can afford to pay her bill or not.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I've been pretty tight at times. Gosh, there was a short period there, about a year, we were literally living off our credit cards because the money I was making just it wasn't cutting it. We had mortgage and insurance and all the other things that go along. And I'll tell you, that was an extremely, really tough time for us. But
Yeah,
then
I
I,
can
I
see.
figured I got to make more money, so I went out and got a job that paid some good wages. And that ended that period of our life.
Wow.
So I'm not starving or anything, but I'd like to have a little more income than I have, be a little more flexible.
A completely realistic goal, and I agree. Sometimes you don't really need to. If those things were to come to you, like I don't know, a TV show or stuff like that, great, perfect. But I think that keeping your goals realistic might be the best way to go in a way. In a way.
Well, if I don't set my goals too high, the problem with setting goals, if you set them too high, then you have to work your ass off to reach them. I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to have to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I want to be able to work 20, 30 hours a week, just and live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah, I understand. You mentioned that you do your own marketing right now, right? So, what do you usually do?
Well, when I started out, I was active on the Amazon forums, political forums, and when I would make a comment, I would post a link to my webpage or to one of my books. And I didn't brag on them. I didn't really provide any information. I just at the bottom of the commentary, I just left a link, and people that were interested looked it up, and a lot of people looked me up and bought the books.
Oh, that sounds great. At least it's working.
Yeah, I thought I might try something along those lines as well. I've considered working with the professional marketing companies. That's still an option for me. Marketing has just gotten so complicated. It's a field all its own. Yeah, I'm probably going to involve some professionals in that regard. So I already have a professional group that's building my website for me, and that will give me the flexibility to do a lot of things, setting up an email program and that sort of thing. So, yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to need a little more professional help along the way because even though I have a background in marketing, it's not where my expertise is at.
Okay, okay. I guess you also are working on a new series, maybe?
Not a series. I've got a series of short stories that I'm looking at putting together. I've got
Oh, to release an
really,
anthology.
yeah, an anthology. I got 14 stories that I put together in a rough draft at this point. I think it's in pretty good shape. I'm gonna have another writer look at it. And if he's okay with it, then I'll probably have that published before the end of the year. And that's those are all science fiction tales.
Okay, so David, tell me, are you planning to maybe go to any event to promote yourself, maybe a book signing, or just make a stand in some festival or something?
I would be interested in doing that. My experience at this point is that what you get out of it generally doesn't make the cost and time worth it. I've been to several book fairs. I've been involved in them, and you just don't sell enough books to cover the cost.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I
I,
understand that. But for
yeah.
what I have heard from other writers, it's most about exposing yourself and saying, hey, this is me and this is my work. It's not so much for sales, more for promoting. So some guys see it as an investment, but again, that's opinions.
Well, exactly. I could see it as an investment as well. I think it would be more long-term investment because the short-term sales just don't, unless you're like a Clive Kusler or someone like that, Elite Childs, where you can sit down and have a 200, 300, 400 people show up to buy your books. You're sitting there for 4, 5, 6 hours and you sell two, three books. That's not helping your bottom line. You're actually showing a loss because of the time it takes to travel costs, hotels, depending on where you're staying is how much that ends up costing you. And if you spend $600, $700 to go to, say, Chicago to market your book and you sell five books, you're really in the hole on that one. So there's a lot of ways to get out there and make people aware that you're out there, besides doing book fairs and that sort of thing. I'm not going to
Right.
rule it out. I like people. I like talking to people. Book fairs, you meet a lot of people and some rather interesting people. And interesting people make good characters for stories. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's actually homework.
I never thought about it that way. Interesting, interesting. So, can you tell us which platforms we can get your books?
Right now, I've got it on Amazon and Books to Read. I'm working on a few others, but everywhere you go, they've got their hand out. So nothing's free, so I have to budget how much I spend at any particular venue. I'm
Right.
still working through the weeds in that respect. The whole marketing thing is I've just recently started on that, so. I am basically just cracking the shell and climbing out of my egg and and trying to get my wings dry. So I'm still a ways away yet.
I can imagine. Do you have any social media where people could learn more about you and hear about your updates, etc.?
Well, I'm rather active on Facebook. I've just gotten into Instagram. I haven't really done much of that yet. Kind of toyed around with TikTok, but I'm not quite there with that yet. But Facebook, I'm very active. I have a good following, and we have some rather good conversations along the way.
Well, I think that's all for now, David. Thank you so much for joining us today and for this lovely conversation.
Well, I've enjoyed it myself. I always like talking to people, and
Of
I
course.
don't like talking about myself either. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming to another episode of Writing Inspiration with Markee Books. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, David, again for coming. Well, have a nice day and see you next week. Bye. Well, thanks for coming and joining us today. If you find this episode inspiring, like, subscribe, and share this video. And give Markee Books a try in the link below. Have a nice day and see you next week. Bye.